All right. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. This is July the 1st. This is the first day after June the 30th. And I don't know if most people know what June the 30th is, but June the 30th is the Independence Day for the Democratic Republic of the Congo. 62 years ago, Congolese men and women achieved their independence from the Belgium, and we started as the Democratic Republic of the Congo. And so we celebrate our independence, and then here in the United States, 4 days later, we're going to celebrate the independence of the United States on July 4th. So welcome, welcome. We're excited to have all of you as a part of our session today. It is the L2L Executive Mastermind group. And so I appreciate all of you getting up so early. And we are going to do like we always do, is that we're going to start off with a little bit of music. So let's go ahead and get our jam on. Did I get any audio?
I have no audio. It's in my head.
You can't bob your head, Adrian. I thought that was good.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thank you so much. I don't know
Notice
about
I had new moves, Steve, too.
Yeah. Adrian, you have some serious moves. Yes. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Adrian, thank you for your moves. I always get excited about starting off that way because I do really believe that we are simply the best, and as leaders, we just don't hear that enough. I don't think we share that enough with each other. I mean, just imagine if we went around every day encouraging, inspiring, and telling people what they were really good at. Wouldn't the world just be a better place? Don't you think, Adrian Fagan, don't you think the world would be a better place if we could see the best in all of us?
Oh, absolutely.
Yes, yes, absolutely. That's why I love that song. I love Simply the Best, because it communicates that we are awesome and that we that it brings out the best in who we are. And on top of that, it's Tina Turner. Like, how can you not get excited about Tina Turner? Once you know her story, it's hard not to get excited about Tina Turner. But anyhow, we are excited about today's session. This is going to be a powerful session today. I have been waiting for a long time to talk about this topic, and it's a topic that has been trending in the news the past 6 months. We have a lot of different aspects of this, mental health and leadership, that there's an intersectionality between that. And so I'm looking forward to diving deep into it today so that, hey, as leaders, we can do some self-care, and then we can also take care of our folks, because that's part of leadership. It's like, hey, not only do we take care of ourselves, but we take care of the people that we are concerned and that we care about. And so this is our agenda for today. We're going to do some introductions, and then we'll have our speakers presentation. And then on the back end, we will go ahead and have a conversation about the insights that we have learned from this session. And so with that, my name is Ditu Kasui, and my partner in success is Miss Adrian Whitaker, and we are the L2L Leadership Institute. And we're excited to have you for this session. So as a part of our introductions, please share your name, your company and organization, and then one approach, one best practice that you take to deal with stress. One best practice to deal with stress. And we are going to, Kevin, if you are in position, I want to go ahead and get you out the way. If you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yes. Hi, my name is Kevin Rouse. I'm from Miami, Florida. Right now, I am a judicial assistant for a judge in Miami-Dade County on the 11th Circuit Court. I am starting my own business, hopefully, starting a transportation business in Miami Gardens. So far, I'm the only I'm the only employee trying to hire 2 or 3 to help me start this business. And to deal with stress, honestly, I can say meditation and prayer. It's been a part of our family and our culture for years that we find ways to cope with stress. I mean, some African American men keep it inside, but sometimes it's good to either focus and let it out, or like you said, meditate. So basically, that's how I deal with stress. Try to deal with stress.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much. We appreciate that, Kevin. It's a good point. One thing that is often said: unexpressed feelings never die. They just come out at unexpected times. So getting it out is extremely powerful. So thank you. We are now going to throw it to Janae Roscoe. Janae, want to give us, introduce yourself and one best practice for dealing with stress?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Janae Roscoe, and I'm the Senior Vice President and Chief of Government Affairs and Public Policy for Operation Hope. And I am the parliamentarian for the UFSC Washington DMV interest group. And we're so excited about making it through COVID and exploring ways to go from interest group to an official chapter again. And what I do is focus on hydration, focus on drinking good, clean, cold or cooled water to get me started, to get me motivated. And even when I'm having the most challenging parts of the day or whatever, I just remember to hydrate, because sometimes that cool water that goes down your esophagus and is it sprouting throughout your internal organs just sends you an ooh-ah, and sort of, puts you like, okay, I can tackle whatever is going to come my way. Or at least I like to think it's going to give me that little supercharge, to keep it going. So I want to leave that message, especially with Kevin starting out with slave heat. We have access. Our ancestors fought hard for us to be where we are today. So it's up to us to stay hydrated so that we can stay productive and leave the next legacy of worth of work out there for people to build on.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you, Janae. And hydration is a key. I mean, water is the juice of life. I would tell you, if you want your body to stop breaking down, don't drink water. you want to renew it and give yourself the ability to be able to work through things. Start off by drinking water. Water and good eating, is definitely helpful. So thank you, Janae. And we are now going to go to Adrian Fagans.
Good morning. My name is Adrian Fagans. I am now the Acting Deputy Director for Program and Operations at DMAS, Virginia Medicaid, while Cheryl is now Acting Director, so I'm Acting Deputy. I think the thing that really helps me with stress is I step away from the situation and go for a walk, because that fresh air, just like water, Janae was saying, if water refreshes you, fresh air gets into my system, refreshes me, and I can process things. I'm walking, I'll usually put in my, my ear pods and listen to some music and just kind of decompress myself and figure out, okay, what are my next steps? Where do I go from here?
Excellent, excellent. And having a breakup in the day, right, in the variety of the day, also renews and refreshes us. And so when we step away from our desk and we go from a walk, or sometimes we get so tied up into something, right? Or we are experiencing something and we want to go talk to somebody. Most people don't take the time to go and walk, center ourselves, come back, then we can, be in a good place to deal with something. So thank you, Adrian. That is powerful. And congratulations. Can we put congratulations in the chat? I mean, I'm talking
Oh,
the
thank you.
deputy. I tell you, that is awesome. Congratulations. That's what we're talking about right there. And we're going to throw it to Sally. Good morning, Sally.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
We are doing fantastic. And Sally, we are doing name, organization, and best practice for dealing with stress.
Yes, yes. Well, happy July. It's here. Yeah, my name is Sally Sledge. My business is Back to the Books, which is an education and consulting communications business. And my practice is exercise. And even if I can't fit it into every day, just scheduling it, knowing, okay, on Tuesday, I get to go to the gym, or I get to, go for that walk, like Adrian was saying. Just knowing that it's available, that's just been so valuable to me to have that time. And then, what do they say? Endorphins are released when you exercise.
Yes.
So it's almost like just your ritual of getting your body in shape, and that helps me a lot.
Yes, yes. Sally, you said a mouthful there. I mean, that is one of the things that we all know to do. And I would dare to say that we often don't do enough. We know we should be doing that exercise. And when we do it, we really empower our body and help us to be productive. And not only, do we get those endorphins, right? Then we also, force the body to use all parts of the body. Any part of the body that is not used often is susceptible to entropy. So building our capacity through exercise is amazing. All right, I think we have everybody. And all right, I'm gonna throw it over to Adrian Whitaker.
Are you gonna do Benda?
Oh, I'm sorry, Benda. Go ahead, Benda.
Actually, we have Dr. Wakabongo on the line.
All right.
Good morning.
Dr. Wakabongo, we are doing introductions. You can state your name, organization, and your best practice for dealing with stress.
Okay, good morning. I'm the founder and the CEO of Dr. Musawa Kabongo Science Education, Inc. Dealing with stress, I try to do yoga and walk and not talk to my kids. Oh, that is one.
That is hilarious. That is hilarious. So yes, that is a best practice for dealing with stress. Welcome, Dr. Wakabongo. And one of the ways that you can avoid stress is, yes, don't talk to your kids, or at least talk to the kids at a certain time frame. So thank you so much. All right, Benda, we're gonna throw it to you.
Good morning, all. Benda Nundu here with Lee Law Office and Dr. Musa Wakabongo Science Education, Inc. One way I deal with stress is, I think somebody mentioned music, but also we got into boxing in the past, like during the pandemic. So I mean, that's physical exercise, but specifically boxing is, I won't say I'm an angry person, but it definitely helps.
Absolutely. We all need some way of getting out our aggression. Because during the day we can run across some frustrating stuff. So we got to get some stuff we can get in a productive way, throw some hands. Productive way. Absolutely. So thank you, Benda. We appreciate that. And Benda is our producer for all of our L2L events. And I tell you, we feel it when Benda is not around. It really helps to keep all of the technology moving. And if any of you do podcasts or Zooms or anything, and you're going back to work and you're doing hybrid, make sure that you have a new role for the meeting. And that role for the meeting is the producer. Like, who is going to be the producer to manage the technology and manage the transitions? So we appreciate Benda. All right, so with that, we're going to throw it over to Adrian Whitaker.
Hello, everyone. So my role is I am a DEI officer for Virginia Housing. In addition to that, I also am the co-founder with D2 of the L2L Leadership Institute. We've been around now since 2015 and producing things like this. I'm excited to say that we're going to have our conference this year in person. So we'll tell you more about that a little later. As far as stress is concerned, I think I do what a lot of introverts do, and that is take some alone time to recharge my battery, to get centered with my thoughts. And that alone time can look different depending on where I am. It could be just alone time to take a time to breathe and to just to release some of the bad energy that comes from stress. But breathing can come from walking. But my most fun thing to do to be alone and breathe is to dance, to turn on the music and just dance around and sing around. Not necessarily doing it well, but doing it alone and thinking and just releasing bad energy by doing that. But really, alone time is how I deal with my stress and just kind of work it out through breathing.
Absolutely. Adrian, thank you for sharing that. And I want you to know that Adrian is a very good dancer, so, I mean, she has been dancing in various roles throughout her life, and she's been trained to dance. And I must say that her and I were once in a dance competition, and I smoked her. I beat her in a dance competition, and it was extraordinary. It was extraordinary. I'm very proud. I was very proud of that moment. I was very proud of that moment.
I've been in many competitions, dance competitions in my lifetime, and I have to say that is the only one that I have ever lost.
I had some extra help with the judges.
One judge, same name as D2, but younger, a lot younger. Who gets an allowance?
Hey, a win is a win. A win is a win. So Adrian, thank you for sharing that. And my name is D2 Kasui. I'm co-founder of the L2L Leadership Institute. And when I'm not doing leadership development, I also work for a governmental agency. I'm the chief of workforce development for that agency, and I'm responsible for the development and skills of our workforce. And for me, to deal with stress, I'm a big reader. I love to have the opportunity to read a good book. I get really excited about reading something new. I like learning new things. And then in addition to that, I love listening to audiobooks. So I used to love just to drive and listen to audiobooks. And I can get on the road and listen to an audiobook, and I could just go for hours. But, now that gas is at $5 a gallon, I'm going to see if I can walk and listen to audiobooks. That $5 a gallon, it take you $80 to fill up your tank, in a Camry, you got to find something else. All right. So thank you all for sharing. And we asked this question, to set us up for our conversations today. And our featured speaker, has a personal story that he's going to be sharing with us at the intersection of mental health and leadership. And Ian, he is a nonprofit industry influencer. He's also has several TED Talks. He's an advocate for mental health awareness and mental health in the workplace. And he's the author of Stronger Than Stigma, a call to action, stories of grief, loss, and inspiration. You know, when you start talking about mental health, you know, people don't like to talk about it, you know, and we are coming out of, you know, historically or traditionally, you know, mental health has been seen as this extreme situation that you don't want to have associated, you know, with yourself at all. And so, but we know that it is something commonplace, and it is something as leaders, we want to be able to effectively self-care so that we can help ourselves. And at the same time, we want to be in position to be able to support and help others. And that's part of the leadership mindset. So with that, please take out your paper and pencils and get ready for his excellent presentation. And on the other side of his presentation, we will discuss how the principles and concepts will be able to apply to our own leadership in our own lives. Thank you so much, and we'll see you on the other side.
My name is Ian Adair. I want to talk about the power of words. Words are so powerful. They can greatly impact and influence our lives. Think about a time when a teacher or a coach or a boss recognized you for your work and inspired you, and how those words stayed with you to today. Words also have stigma and shame attached to them. Words like mental illness, suicide, and addiction and recovery can change the life of anyone they are directed at. I want to talk about two words today, and I believe the intersection of these two words can move the conversation forward concerning mental health and addiction. And those two words are leadership and mental health. Not normally used together, but when brought together, I feel have the ability to greatly impact our workforce and work culture. To explain this intersection, I'm going to tell you a story, because I believe stories have the ability to impact us on a profound level. You see, stories are the common ground that allow people to communicate and overcome our differences so that we better understand ourselves and each other. So I want to break my talk up into three parts today. My story, a path to wellness, and I'll end with a call to action. So my story. Three themes greatly impacted my life: mental health, addiction, and poverty, all of which set me on the path that I'm on today. I have battled depression and anxiety for the majority of my life and witnessed those that I love and deeply care about battle mental illness, addiction, and recovery challenges. I have even experienced, like so many of you, a friend that has died by suicide. Like so many who suffered, I felt alone. I took a long time to seek out help, and I didn't take self-care seriously. I felt the shame of suffering so much that I never told my mother while she was alive. You see, as humans, we tend to we still have the tendency to rank our pain. Because I ranked my pain and suffering below hers, I stayed silent. Because of the powerful stigma associated with mental illness, I never told any family, friends, or coworkers. But with help, I realized that I was going through was manageable, and that everything changed after that. How I saw the disease, how I thought of myself, how I thought of others suffering, and how I might be able to help. So what does all this have to do with leadership? You see, I believe that an idea we're spreading is that workplace leadership has the power to change the conversation around mental health, end stigma, and save lives. Because the path to wellness is going to be paved by strong leaders and strong leadership. Leadership today is about taking care of the people responsible for the work, not just the work itself. The word leader has nothing to do with our title at work. Leadership is the conscious decision we make each and every day to support and look after those around us. We are all leaders. We lead our families, we lead our communities, we lead volunteers, and we lead our teams at work. As leaders, we have become the culture caretakers for our organizations and our companies, with the responsibility of taking care of others. You see, I fell in love with this term, culture caretakers, coined by the author Linda Thornton, which she uses to describe her thoughts on ethical leadership. But I use it in the literal sense because the word caretaker is associated with hard work, messy work that we have to do each and every day. Leaders today must embrace our responsibility as culture caretakers within our companies to take care of our people. Today's workforce is asking for so much, and they care about more than just salary. They're asking for access to new technology, a flexible work schedule, positive work culture, professional development and mentoring, and they want the company they work for to care about their mental health and wellness. Mental health awareness and addiction have become trending topics in today's news cycle and on social media. This has mainly been due to the number of high-profile suicide deaths of people like Anthony Bourdain, Kate Spade, and Robin Williams. What has also pushed the conversation farther are the number of increasing professional athletes and celebrities coming out about their battles with addiction, depression, and anxiety. And although this has helped, there's a certain amount of air cover we give celebrities and athletes because we expect them to make mistakes and collapse under the intense public pressure they are under. Over the last few years, the conversation around mental illness and addiction has become more open and more public, but where the conversation is still falling short concerns the stigma faced by those who are not famous or well known. See, I believe that regular people, those of us that are not in the public eye, still have a long way to go before we are comfortable disclosing a mental illness or addiction challenge without the fear of consequences or judgment. For everyday people, working professionals, retired seniors, and students, when we disclose a mental illness, we fear losing the three things that matter most in our lives, and that's our family, our friends, and our jobs. Disclosing a mental illness or addiction shouldn't mean giving anything up or losing those who should be supporting you. But for so many, that fear is real. Mental illness has a PR problem because we overuse the statistic that 1 in 5 of us will experience a mental health condition in a given year. But in reality, 5 in 5 of us have mental health. No matter what size group I'm speaking to, I start every conversation by asking who in the room has been impacted by mental illness, addiction, or suicide, either yourself, your family, or your closest 4 to 5 friends. 99% of the room either raises their hand or stands up. So the call to action today is that it's critical for organizations and companies to recognize that mental health is just as important as physical health. Those who invest and prioritize mental health, wellness, and self-care can create a healthier work environment for their employees. These investments can show significant improvements in employee retention, engagement, and job satisfaction. Where so many companies fall short is how to act and when to start. But both the research and employees are saying the time is now. Now more than ever, it is essential to educate our workforce about mental health resources and the importance of nurturing an environment of openness at work in regards to mental health. To cultivate a culture of empathy and psychological safety and wellness requires consistency and effort. Employees want their managers to show empathy and concern because these actions build trust and loyalty within their teams and ultimately create a better work environment. The time is now to support employee mental health and promote wellness initiatives, especially to meet the demands of today's workforce. Promoting mental health and self-care can have a positive impact on employee retention, staff morale, and recruitment of top talent. But the number one reason to promote mental health is to take care of our people. Employees who feel safe and cared for at work and feel that the company is looking out for their best interest are more productive, more loyal, and more engaged. Remember, leadership is about taking care of the people responsible for the work, not just the work itself. Normalizing conversations about mental health is the best way to reduce stigma within the workplace. The goal for our leaders should be to promote the acceptance and inclusion of those dealing with the mental health issue by improving support systems, spreading awareness, and creating a safe environment for discussions to take place. By providing educational opportunities and enhancing awareness, organizations reducing stigma, which keeps employees silent in their suffering. There's 4 strategies that any size company can incorporate with little to no financial investment in order to cultivate a culture of empathy and support around mental health. Number 1, make sure their employees know it's safe for them to discuss and address mental health related issues. You can do this by creating a safe environment both online or in person. Share stories across all levels of lived experience and recovery, because when leaders are vulnerable and share their experience, it creates transparency and acceptance in the workplace. These types of stories can take the fear out of disclosing for employees. Educate employees and managers about mental illness by taking the time to share mental health resources and acknowledge mental health specific calendar days, which there are so many they can share to help spread awareness. And make wellness a priority by promoting in-service trainings and start wellness programs to really get going employee camaraderie around these initiatives. Managers and executive teams have the power to support their employees with dignity and empathy. By providing safe environments to discuss, educate, and promote mental health and wellness, leaders can cultivate the kind of work culture that can have a positive impact on a number of important organizational issues. Mental illness needs more advocates, activists, and champions. So I encourage leaders of all levels to share your story when you are ready and call out stigma whenever and wherever you see it. Talking about mental health today isn't just a moment. Talking about mental health today is a movement. On behalf of everyone with lived experience, currently suffering or in recovery, my call to action today is to ask you to join this movement. Thank you.
All right, all right. The call to action has been given. So what I am going to do is we are going to start our insights from this particular, can't see my little thing up here. There we go. Slideshow from that side. We'd love to get some insights for folks to start off. You can go ahead and throw in the chat if you like your top insights from today's video. I've really enjoyed his succinct presentation. Gave some excellent points, for us to consider as leaders. And so you can go ahead and throw your insight in the chat. And while you are throwing your insight in the chat, I am going to ask Dr. Wakabongo if she doesn't mind sharing her insight with the rest of us verbally.
Muted. I put it in the chat. Do I need to talk about it?
Yeah, I'd like you to tell us a little more about self-care.
I think self-care is very important, especially as a strong leader. I'll just give an example. I was a lab director, and a lab with being closed down because of the budget and the politics, et cetera. So I felt I care for my workers because I knew who they were. And I was just trying to tell everybody about how our lab was very important, but I didn't realize that I was not taking care of myself. And then I really came down with shingles. If you know what shingle is, it's very painful. It's because your immune system is down. So you revive the virus that you had when you were little, when you were small. So I like this thing about self-care, pausing and thinking about, am I taking care of myself? If you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your people.
Yes, yes. Dr. Wakabongo, thank you for sharing that. And it's one of those things that as leaders, we can be very susceptible to, especially when we become passionate, right? So this is the other side, right? So we have some leaders who don't care about their people at all. And that's the point that Robert is bringing up. But then there's the other side. There are people who really care about their people and get involved in the cause and get involved in their people. And in doing so, we can often neglect ourselves. And that's where self-care, really becomes an important part, of our leadership capability, important part of, hey, if we are going to add value to other people, the more we can add value to ourselves puts us in position so that we can, help other folks. And so that's one thing that we want to be careful of. We want to be looking out for red flags for, and that we want to be intentional to make sure that, we have something to pour into other people. And, if you're exhausted, if you're overwhelmed, right? If you are deprived of sleep, I'm surprised we didn't talk about that as one of the options to help to deal with stress. It's like, get some rest. Then it becomes very difficult to navigate, situations and circumstances that we as a leader are positioned to be able to take care of. So thank you, excellent point. And I'd like to throw it to Sally, if she doesn't mind, to tell us a little more about her comment to realize we all have mental health to take care of. Sally, go ahead and share your insight.
Thank you. Yeah, I just liked what he said about, I can't remember exactly how he phrased it, but we all need to be aware of our mental health, because it's almost like, I guess, your weight. It's on a scale. Sometimes it's really good and sometimes it's not so good. So, it's up to us to ask for what we need.
Yes.
And I think in this environment, it's better. I teach at several universities, and I've had many students in the last couple of years say, I'm taking a mental health day. And I'm like, good for you. For a lot of us, we would never say that. We weren't allowed to say that. But thankfully, they do feel that way. And now, no one thinks twice about it. Okay, go do what you need to do, take care of you, and come back when you're ready, to join us again. So I'm just glad that seems to be a trend, and it shouldn't be embarrassing. It shouldn't be a stigma anymore. So yeah, we all have to watch out for our mental health, and it's not a bad thing to bring it up to your supervisor or your coworkers.
Yes. Sally, you're right on the spot, with that. It's becoming more acceptable in society. And when we move things out of the fringe, like, a lot of times the bad thing in society is that we have associated mental health issues with extreme circumstances. We're going to say, hey, this person did this because they had mental health, problems or issues. And so that doesn't make it commonplace. So someone's like, oh, I don't want people thinking I'm going to go off at the office, or, I'm going to throw the tables up in the household, when really we're all on the spectrum, right? We all have opportunities to deal with our mental health. And so when we all realize that this is a human thing, we all have it, then we can all effectively deal with it. And then we can share it and speak it. And I'm when you said that the young people were sharing that, in the traditional workplace, could you, when I had a little more hair and all my hair was dark, I can imagine calling the office, right? Man, I need to have a day off because, it's just a little too much. I need a mental health day. No. You weren't going to say that. You going to say, my dog had some problem. But there is actually a healing in calling out what something is, right? So that, you don't feel you have that self a self-integrity about it, right? You know, you don't have to go all the way always deep into what you have going on, but and at the same time, it gives and sends a signal that you have the leader has created a space that people feel confident that they can tell you the truth and they're going to be okay. Right? I mean, that's the type of leader has created a space where people don't have to make up a lie to tell what's really going on. Because if you really know what's going on with a person, you might say, maybe you need to take 2 days. And one of the things that just came from the Association of Training and Development, burnout is real, especially in this COVID and pandemic environment. People don't realize how much burnout is affecting the workplace, affecting people at home, because there's a small line between home and work now. So people don't feel like they have a place where they can just be themselves, and work is not getting involved. Or some people went to work because they want to avoid stuff at home. So they avoid, but anyhow, Sally, thank you for sharing that excellent point with us. So before we go to our breakout groups, Adrian, any insight that you would like to share with the group from the video?
Yeah, one of the things that really stood out to me from the video is when he said not 1 in 5, but 5 in 5 people are impacted by mental health, which means as leaders, every single person on our team is impacted, our clients are impacted, and our businesses are impacted. And that really hit home for me when he said it. I think that we intuitively know that we all go through our ups and downs. We all are impacted by mental health challenges. Those challenges change over time. But to realize that when we are meeting someone in the workplace, that how they show up on that particular moment, or how they show up on a particular project, could be impacted by their mental health situation, and that we've got to deal with people in their moment and not make assumptions about who they are. And so to make those evaluations and to be willing to flex or change or pivot based on how people are showing up, and then being able to provide for where they are in that moment, that really hit me, because that means that although I might be managing people individually, I've got to also take into account that that person has some diverse personal situations going on within that person. And I got to manage them from where they are in that moment, not just different from how I manage Tom or how I manage Sue.
Absolutely. Powerful, powerful. Boy, I would love to dive into that, but we got to go to the breakout. We got to go to the breakout. We got to go to the breakout. So let me see. So here's our discussion questions that we're going to have you do in your breakout room is: how does your workplace, your community, or your family nurture mental health? And what practices do you have in place in any of those categories? And how does it differ from physical health, right? So, I mean, we're all usually familiar with physical health, right? Some of us come from families that either have lack of physical health or are very passionate about physical health. So when you compare in those arenas, in those domains, how do you compare that to the types of programs that and efforts do we have with mental health? Okay, so I think our breakout rooms are going to be opening up. So please, we're going to give you 9.5 minutes in your breakout room. That's right, 9.5 minutes. I know y'all like, oh man, they will give us more time than we normally have. Yes, you have 9.5 minutes to discuss it, and please appoint someone to be your person to summarize, and we're going to come back on the other side and we will further discuss it. So, Mr. Bender, the breakout rooms have now been opened. Just click on the link. All right, all right. So Adrian, you started off, you you gave us a big one to begin with.
Well, you know, D2, because I'm very much in tune to, you kind of get into a rhythm and how you deal with people, because you expect them to be the same all the time. And I have worked in workplaces where mental care and that safe space was truly, truly, truly needed. And I can talk more about that, but I think you wanted to say something. I'm sorry.
Well, I just wanted to introduce the word psychological safety.
Yeah.
Right. You know, as we work towards creating a more inclusive environment, right? And I think when we talk about inclusive environments, people automatically think just about work, right? And often what's overlooked is some of us don't have inclusive environments at home or in our community activities that we do, or maybe in our neighborhoods, you know, that, you know, everyone is not tapping into or connecting in a way that is extremely, you know, powerful for them. And so thinking about that is more than just work. Is how do we have psychological safety in all arenas that we have.
Oh, absolutely.
So back over to you, Adrian.
Yeah, thinking about the topic overall, D2, you know, of course, you know, this topic was probably one of the most weighty ones that we've delved into with our mastermind discussions. And as I was listening to him speak, I couldn't help but think about my career and where has there been psychological safety. And when I think about when I was at the bank, and, you know, I had a great career at the bank. I had a very successful career. But as I think about it, there was a pressure cooker element to being in sales, and the competition of trying to be number one, and trying to be number one on the leaderboard, trying to be number one in market share. And we celebrated that. But it was not, that type of environment is not the best environment for mental health. And I got really fortunate that the bank invested in me to be able to go through a leadership program. And when I went to the leadership program, my coach, it was a 2-year program, my coach introduced something to me about asking certain questions of my staff. And they were questions that I would normally think were intrusive, because I always thought you kind of separate that personal life from the work life situation. And so I would not ask them about, you know, their personal lives. I would not ask them about what did you do over the weekend. I wouldn't ask them about their families or their kids, because I felt as though you have that line. That's how we were taught. And this particular coach told me, no, you need to get into the habit of doing that. And I remember how uncomfortable it was to begin to come into the office and say something as simple as, how was your weekend? I remember how uncomfortable that was. And I remember that my staff actually saw the difference, and actually questioned me on it. Like, what's up? What's, what do you mean? So there was an uncomfortness on both sides. Not so much that they found the question intrusive, they saw that I was behaving in a different way. Now, it would have been easy for me to back up off of it because it was uncomfortable for me. And now they're questioning me about it. So I'm like, this is not working. So let me just walk away from it. But fortunately, I had a coach that was also asking me, how was it going? So I had someone who was holding me accountable for creating that space to have conversations with my team that wasn't just about work, but to give me an insight of who they were so I could know more of what they needed. And I found that it got easier. And then I found over time, I became known as a manager that cared about my people. I found that people began to tell other people that Adrienne does this. I found that now that years later, I have people who worked with me 10, 15 years ago who still go out and say, Adrienne was my best manager because, and I can point back when they say the other side of that because, it's because of, not because I helped them get to the number one on the leaderboard, not because I helped them get more salaries, but because I cared enough about what was happening in their lives. And then because I knew, I also allowed me to be more flexible when they needed something that maybe had to do with something going on at home, because now I had a little bit more insight. So that was my first time, but I'll tell you, D2, when I was the flip side of that, I was also a leader in higher education. And when I was in higher education, people don't understand. I worked for a wonderful university, but there's a pressure cooker there too. Yes. In higher education, and mental health is not always something that you have safe space. And I wasn't there long, but as I look back now, I look at the number of people who I worked with who have gotten ill, who have died from illnesses that are directly tied to stress. And then when I think about when I went to SOAR 365, where we were an organization all about people with disabilities, we recognized that mental health was also a disability. And it was the first time that I had a manager tell me, hey, we have time off and sick time, and make sure you take mental health days. And I heard everyone around me saying things like, I need a mental health day. It was my first time being in that kind of environment. And I'm going to say that that was probably the environment where it was more acceptable. And so for my leader to say, I'm taking a mental health day, for my colleagues on the leadership team to say it, that did make it easier for our staff to recognize that mental health was important. So that's kind of my little takeaway, I guess. different journey, the journey of mental health at work.
Absolutely. And it's far from little. It's extremely impactful, what you have shared, Adrienne, because it is the evolution of leadership in the workplace
over the years, because that was
yes.
Over the years.
Yes, absolutely. Because traditionally leadership development was focused on production. Right? We come out of the production model, which really treated people as things, right? And when you treat people as things, then you don't need to care about them, right? Because no one asks, how is the machine doing today? Nobody asks, how's the pencil doing today? So we have this evolution, and we used to have, these policies is no fraternizing, right? And people would take that, we're not talking about romantic fraternizing, but, you wouldn't have lunch, right? You wouldn't ask, not until you became into a manager do you get invited to the social at the, with all the managers, right? And so that really created a barrier between employees and people that were in a leadership position. And so we missed out on the opportunity to really connect with one another And through that connection is where you actually get more productivity, because, people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And when they know how much you care, they will go to they will go beyond what is expected. They will tap into their discretionary time, talent, treasures, and ability to help to achieve the goal. And that's a big thing, for leaders. Oh, wow. I mean, I tell you, time came back quick.
Time came back quick. And Dita, maybe I took up too much time, but it came back. It came back. Here they're all back to share.
They all came back really quick. All right. So, all right, let's get into it. I can't wait to hear what was going on in our groups. I'm going to start with the early risers. And so we had Adrian, Fagans, Janae, and Kevin. What were the insights from your group?
Okay, some of the insights from our group, Kevin was indicating that they have a special program at work where people can contact and actually talk to a specialist if they need to. And of course, as state employees, we have access to our EAP, Employee Assistance Program, where for the first couple of sessions, they're free. So you can contact somebody and, because first thing everybody thinks about is how much is this going to cost me? But, when you're kind of in that frame of mind and you're needing someone just to, kind of walk you through, last thing you need to be worried about is how I'm going to pay for this. So we have that. And then Janae was also talking about, I like this idea. They have coffee talks through the month. So one of them example she gave us was bring your pet to work, and they do it on a virtual platform and an in-person platform. So, everybody could share, for example, that one, they could share, this is my pet. And also, it helps to validate the fact that I am somebody outside of this job. And, you kind of respect that boundary as well. But, this job is just not who I am. And then I also shared one of the things I do with my managers and supervisors, because we are also task focused and we do task very well, that sometimes it can become overwhelming with the task. And I usually tell my managers and supervisors when I meet with them, I call it the pick 3 rule. So for the week, you get to pick 3 priorities because you're also managing staff. So as opposed to being overwhelmed with, I have to get these 10 things done today, pick 3. What are the top priorities? We'll help set them. And, if something, it gives you some wiggle room in case something goes astray, but pick 3 so you don't feel so overwhelmed with everything.
Wow. That was some powerful stuff that y'all discussed in your group. The thing that really connected with me, Adrian, is the showing people more that we're more than just, workers, right? And, people really care about their pets. Pets are, a part of their family, right? And having the opportunity to either bring one to work or, share, that part of their, or have them participate. I've been on a couple of calls, where they allow their pet to go ahead and be in the room. Because sometimes, especially if you have those half-day meetings and stuff like that, they have to be locked away. And, having where they could be able to, be a part of that, is another way to give people an opportunity to share. And then the employee resource thing, I'd say, I believe that is one of the most underutilized resources that organizations have. I think there's still more opportunities for us to encourage folks to take advantage of that resource. Usually like 6 sessions or something that you get, but it's available and it is private, right? It is confidential, and it's a resource and a benefit that is very much underutilized.
And
So,
I think we really need to advertise that more, because when I tell people that it's available too, first thing they think is, well, it's going to become part of my record. Then my manager is going to find out. No, they won't. Or some people immediately think, oh, well, going to a session means that they're going to put me on meds. No, it does not mean they're going to put you on meds. And I think we really need to work on that stigma of that it is confidential and it doesn't necessarily equate to medication.
Yeah, Adrienne, one way to do that is to normalize it and to give people some recommendations as to when is a good time to use the resource. So if you're going through a change in your personal life, so, if you're going through a life change or if you're caregiving, and so to give them some examples of life changes that we all deal with as examples of this is a really great time to leverage the resource. It kind of normalizes it a little bit.
Yeah, we're actually kind of promoting it because, next week is the week that state employees have to return to work, return back to the office. So we're really promoting that as we're bringing our staff back into the building next week.
Fabulous. DT, you're on mute. D2? Am I frozen or is D2 frozen?
D2 is frozen. So I'm not sure if we need to announce the next group.
The next group, yes, please.
Sure, of course. So the next group we have was actually the paradigm shifters. It looks like that had Dr. Musa Wakabango, Robert, and Sally Sledge.
Great. Who's the spokesperson?
We
Hello?
also had Roberts.
Okay. We talked in our
and
group.
Keitra.
Okay, we talked in our group about the spectrum where yes, things are more open, but there's still limitations first for managers or even peers to understand. We didn't get to employee assistance groups, but we did talk a little bit about sometimes that mental health care takes place in like employee support groups where there's various affiliations and where people can identify with others as a peer. But we also recognize that even though things are more open, that there's still a lot of concern about the legal ramifications. So similar to someone being concerned about something becoming part of their employee record, I think managers also have that concern with what do I do with this information?
Excellent, excellent. And I think that that whole part about confidentiality, and promoting the confidentiality components of our resources is so critical. Does anyone have anything else to add from that particular group?
I'll just add that one of the things that I mentioned, our company has like mental health focuses. They'll do some group therapy. They send out an email. You can do some virtual exercises during the day. You can join like a group therapy group just to talk through like current events and kind of what's going on. Which I thought was really good. Never really had seen that. But being like to me an older generation, and then I'm working with the younger generation, they tend to be a little more open about what they have going on, which I probably would never say, but I probably should, because I was just saying, I remember going through my life changes, a parent dying, your health issues or family issues, but never being able to be transparent at work and carrying that. But you still, at the end of the day, like I added, the companies want you to perform. So there's that. And so you got to look outside of the company. So I have people like my friends at UFC that I could call after work and vent about my day and things like that. So I just want to add that, my perspective.
Yeah, that's a valuable thing to add, because sometimes as hard as we want for our workspaces to be safe spaces, sometimes it is difficult to create that comfort level. And so it is important for us to create other safe spaces that might be outside of the workplace. An organization like UFSC or another group organization is wonderful, or a faith-based organization can also be wonderful. So thank you for adding that level of possibility into our conversation. D2, welcome back.
Yes, I still think I'm having technology issues, but hopefully you can hear me.
We can hear you and we can see you too.
All right. Excellent. Well, thank you all for sharing. You shared some excellent points for everyone to consider. And one of the things that we often like to share with all of you is that, we want to be not only hearers of the word, we want to be doers of the word, right? And so the things that we have shared today, I hope that all of you will take it personally and apply some of these key concepts, in your own life as part of your own self-care. And one of the ways that we can influence others, well, the three top ways that we're able to influence others is through example, and example. Those are one of the most powerful ways that we can do that. And so, and especially when we start talking, I like when you were talking, Adrian, about fusing the employee assistance program with life changes, with life events that, people have, like my family just had a baby, that is a life change. And, I could take advantage of the employee assistance program and mention it to my team that, I'm going through this life transition. I'm going to reach out to the employee assistance program and leverage, that resource as a resource to help you transition and making the adjustments of now having a new baby in our home. That's the way that we start to normalize it. And people start saying, hey, yeah, I can call because we'll have life transition. So I think that's extremely powerful. So just to recap, just in a nutshell, is that words are powerful, right? And have an impact in our lives positively or negatively. So when we start paying attention to the words that we are using, it helps us to be more intentional about those words. And when we find that we're using particular words, right, there's also an indication that we need help. And that can lead us on the path, to getting our own help or noticing the words that the people are using. And that might be a red flag that they may need help or assistance. Let's be a part of the changing the workplace stigma around mental health, right? I mean, most people have images in their minds about the worst things that have happened. And let's make a shift, 5 out of 5. I love that, Adrian. Our clients and our customers, right? We all are going to be experiencing mental health issues. And if we are a leader, and we define leadership here as leadership is influence, right? Nothing more, nothing less. So we all have influence. So that means we're all leaders. And as in our roles as leaders, whether we have authority positions or not, we can create a culture of caretakers. We are going to take care of each other, and we're going to be concerned about each other. And then we want to have, mental health seen as something that is something we can identify and that we all can do something about. And then we want to ensure that we have psychological safety in our workplace. And I would also say in our families, right? And in our communities, right? People, Adrian and I, in our conversation, we were talking about how people often overlook mental health in the family setting, in the family environment. And that's an area that we also want to make sure that we are sharing, that we're having good mental health conversations, that mental health resources are made available. And I like this concept of sharing the stories. In the past, we don't share the stories. We don't share the stories about Uncle so-and-so, Aunt so-and-so, or Joe Bob Worker. People just whisper in the backgrounds about those things. We can, share the stories of common things that happen in our lives and how we have, in a positive way, overcome them and need to move forward. Don't be afraid to have some vulnerability. Of course, we want to be able to make it appropriate, right? And then we want to educate our families, our colleagues, our friends, right? And make wellness a priority. So that's a nutshell from this particular video. And we also have what we call a post assignment. We believe in deliberate practice, right? You know, as a leader, we want to encourage you to start building up the muscles before you have to deal with something, right? And so when you do have to deal with it live and real, you have had some experience and you built up some capacity. It's not your first time dealing with it. And so this month, we want to encourage when you take some mental health time, you can block that in your calendar. There's time that's just for you, and it could be just 30 minutes, 15 minutes, 45 minutes, where you can do this exercise or do some other things to help and work on your mental health. Here it is. Reflect on how your workplace, and I put your family or your community, can help mitigate the stigma on mental health. What can you do to promote acceptance and inclusion of people with mental health issues, and how you can make wellness a priority in your workplace, family, or your team, and what's concrete steps that you can take. And we take the month of July off. So our next month of August off. So our next meeting is to be in September. We're going to talk about social and relationship values as a different way of living, and how you can use that to empower your leadership. With that, I have to throw it over to Adrian to close us out.
Thanks a lot, D2. And we call this month our summer break, so, we are an institute of education, a leadership education. So like the students, we get a summer break. So this is our summer break, but we do have something fun to do this July. And so on July 28th, we are a sponsor of a baseball game for the Flying Squirrels. And if you are interested in joining us at the baseball game, just send me an email. My email address is part of your invitations that you received. Just go ahead and respond back. Let me know that you want tickets, and let me know how many tickets you want. We're saying up to 4, but if you need a couple more than that, let me know. And we hope to see you on July 28th at the Diamond. Also, we're very, very excited. I can't believe we're going to get together in September, and then we'll have October. And then October is when we have our annual conference, and it's going to be in person again. It's the L2L Leadership. It's the L2L Leadership Institute's Live to Leave Richmond, supported and hosted by Urban Financial Services Coalition. So you're going to get lots of information about that in the upcoming weeks, and we hope to see you live and in person.
What's the date for the October event?
The October event, D2, is it October? D2, do you know that off the top of your head?
It's October 24th.
I was going to say 24th. Thank you. October 24th. And so hopefully we'll see you all then. You're going to get lots of opportunity. I am going to encourage you to take advantage of the early pass. The early pass is the cheapest pass. It goes quickly. Sometimes it goes very, very quickly. We've had times when it's gone in just 48 hours. So act on that very quickly. We're going to give you the first chance to get that early pass because you're with us every month. We're not going to give it to the masses. So with that, thank you for being with us today. And D2, I think that we are at our time.
All right, everybody. Have a great Friday. Have a wonderful weekend. Unmute yourself and say happy 4th of July.
Happy July 4th.
Happy 4th, and thank you for taking on this important topic.
Thank you.
Robert, thank you.
Bye.
Have fun,
Bye.
everybody.